Hi, this is Jeremy Helgevold, and this is my submission video for GPE205 Project 3. So I'm just going to go through the rubric. The first item is tank still moves, shoots from Milestone 1, AI still exists from Milestone 2. Yep, so if I hit play, my tank still moves, I can still aim the turrets separately, I can still move around. And if I go into the scene view, it's easier to see. You can see the AI from Milestone 2, the patrollers are patrolling. The high value targets, the yellow, are still there. The sentry are still there. The red ones that'll chase, and the purples that are not movable are still there, and they all still function. All right. Next item is map generation through instantiating random tiles. Yep. So my game manager, I can pick a random mode, whether just pure randomness, seed it, or a map of the day. And so every time I hit play, since it's set to random right now, it will create a different map. So if this is one map, let's see, I've got 3 blank rooms in the upper right. If I hit play again, got 3 blank rooms again, but the others are different. Play again. They're different. Every time it's a different assortment of rooms. All right, next item is tile array exposed to designer and contains multiple tiles. Yep. So I made 3 room tiles, and they're all right here in the room prefabs array for designers to add or remove from. Our next item is map adjustable by designers, map height adjustable by designers, and show both height and width can be changed. Okay, so right now my rows are at 5 and my columns are at 5 here in the game manager. So if I switch this to 3 and 3 and hit play, you can see it's now 3 by 3. Oops. If I make it 7 and hit play, you can see it's 7 by 7. And if I want to do a 5 by 3, you can see it's 5 by 3. Okay. Next one is map generation can be set to random level, and a random level is generated. Right, so my game manager has a random drop down, and if I leave it as random, that means there's no externally provided seed. So for the random number generator Unity, I believe I read uses the time stamp that your game starts to run as its seed. So every time you hit play, it's going to be a new seed, and so then you'll get a different assortment of levels. So let's see, I have small blocks, empty, small blocks. If I run it again, I have small blocks, empty, small blocks again, but now there's 4 of these down here. If I run it again, now they're different up here. There's 2 big blocks, a small block. So the random mode will contain random ones every time you play the game. All right, the next one is map generation can be set to a preset seed, and a seed can be set by designers. Yep, so here's my map seed. I have it set to 414. So if I tell it to select a seed and I hit, I'm going to put this back to 5 by 5. If I hit play, it's going to use 414 as the seed, and you can see the starting room will always be the same for my tank because the sequence of numbers that are generated are based off that seed, so they're always going to be the same. And this 5 by 5, you got 4 big block, 2 big block. So if we hit play again, 4 big block, 2 big block, I still spawn in the same room. If I hit play again, it's the same sequence of random numbers generated by that seed, and I'm in the same starting room. All right, next item is map generation can be set to map of the day, and the same map will generate every day. Yep, so now if I change the seed to map of the day, I'll show in code the game manager. Where's it good? Oh, up here. If it's set to map of the day, it instantiates the date, just the date, not the time. So it will always use the date to seed it. And so it's set to map of the day. So you'll expect, similar to the seed specified, it's going to be the same until tomorrow takes over. So yeah, we got small block, empty. If I play it again, set to map of the day, since it's the same day, it's going to be small block, empty. I'm going to be in the same room. If I do it again, small block. So this is going to be the same seed until the date on my computer ticks over, and then it'll be a new seed. Next one is AIs and players spawn at random tiles. They're not set at level load, and they're instantiated via code. Yep, so my game manager has a reference to the different enemy prefabs. And so, and a player prefab. So as you can see in the scene, there's nothing here. There's a camera, a directional light, and the game manager. So when I hit play, it randomly it spawns the player in one of the rooms. Oh, I should actually switch that back to random so I actually can show this. So if I hit play, it creates everything. So here's the player tank. So I spawned down here, and see the random 5x5. So I spawned down here in a group of 4 big block tiles, and you can see all the little AI. There's a bunch of patrollers. There's high value targets, which are the yellow ones. There's sentry ones, which are the red ones, and then there's turret ones, which are the purple ones. And so those will be different this next time, and my spawn point will be different. Where's my player tank? See, now I'm up here, and all these, the tank spawns are different, and they all include patrols and turrets and sentries and high value targets. All right, next one, power-ups spawn and are able to be picked up by players and AI and respawn after designer set time period. Yep, oops. So my power-ups are here. There's 3 right now in the game manager, and you can add more. The designer can add more. And those prefabs, you can set everything, the duration, if it's permanent, and what modifier it has. So my fire rate power pickup increases fire rate by 1, and it lasts 8 seconds. Health restore is permanent, so that it just gives you health, and it doesn't take it away. And so you give the player 50 health back. And the speed up power increases your speed by 2 for 5 seconds. Since it spawns these randomly and the AI spawn randomly, and only one of the AI moves, I can show in code that the enemy AI can actually pick up the power-ups. So my objects, my tanks, so all the tank prefabs have the power-up controller script on them. And so in code, when we're picked up, we get the power-up component, and we make sure it's not a trigger so that the listening sphere doesn't actually pick it up. The tanks actually have to run into it. So this is not limited to the player tank. It's just limited to a power-up controller being on the object. And both enemy tanks and player tanks have the power-up. Let me see if I can get in and find a power-up just to show that that works. All right, where's one? Okay, so there's going to be one in this room. Oops. All right. Let's see. Player tank. Where am I at? All right, so there's going to be a health one right in front of me. So I pick it up. Boop. And this one over here, I believe, is a... Let's see, what is this one? This is a fire rate modifier. So if I pick this up, all right, I'm just going to hold space down. So now I can, yeah, I can fire a lot. All right, next one is Game Manager exists is singleton and allows easy access to player tank data component and updated list of tank data components. Yeah, so in the Game Manager, okay, here we go. The Game Manager is a singleton. As always, this hasn't changed since the first assignment. If it's null, it gets assigned. Otherwise, it gets destroyed. And it has references to every enemy tank that can be used, the player tank, it assigns the player specific information when it instantiates. It has all the power-ups that can spawn and all the room prefabs that can spawn so that the designers can adjust it and use it that way. And the grid that is spawned for at runtime is accessible because it's a public, or it's private right now, but within the game manager it can access that, and that's what it does to actually populate enemies into the grid randomly. So it has access to all the rooms that it instantiates. Next one is bug/error free. Yep. So as I played, there's no errors in the console. And I can pick up power-ups. This will be a speed power-up, so I go quicker, as quick as the bullets actually. And then, yep, no errors. And then in my, there's also no errors or warnings in the code itself. Next item is comments. Yep, so the comments are the same as last project. They're all thoroughly commented. Yeah, I didn't add a new object. I just expanded the game manager pretty extensively for the procedural generation, so all of that is commented. The generate grid is commented when I figure out the seed, when I go through and generate the columns and rows. Populate enemies is commented when I pick a random number of enemies per room to spawn and then spawn them. And then spawn player is commented for when I pick a random column row to spawn the player in. All right, next one's project organization. My project is organized, so the scene is just the game manager to start with the camera and light. I reorganized the prefabs since they were getting to be kind of high, so the power-ups have their own folder. The rooms, the base rooms have their own folder, and the tanks have their own folder. Next one is game exceeds minimum requirements. So this is, I did add the power-ups that spawn. Let's see, gotta wait for them to spawn. They're on a timer. So these power-ups that spawn, I put a rotation on them so they're differentiate themselves from a static obstacle that you can't move through, just so that gives a little movement to the world and visual distinction. And again, the separate firing of the turrets on the tanks. And I believe that's it. Yeah, and I added for the waypoints, I added the waypoints to a room versus to the tank, so that the designers can add as many waypoints to a room as they want. Yeah, waypoints, and then if a tank is a patroller, it'll look at the room it's spawned in for the waypoints. But I gave a way for that to be overridden if a designer wants specific waypoints for a tank. So if you have a tank, this waypoint is set to the room's waypoints, but it only sets that if the tank at runtime only has a length of 0. So the designer could go into the editor and set a manual number of waypoints in for the tank, and then this would only be overwritten. This wouldn't be overwritten, so it would prioritize the designer's waypoints versus the room's waypoints. This doesn't really exist in the current state of the game, though, because everything's generated at runtime, so the designer can't really set up specific waypoints. I guess they could create their own tank with waypoints relative to the tank's initial position, which would be hard to mesh with the random room that it might get thrown into, but it's there for future expansion of the game. That's the end of the rubric. Thanks for watching.